Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen, and dear students. If you recall, last session we had started discussing the role of marketing in a firm. And at the same time, I had laid down how this course is going to proceed. Briefly, you just recapitulate what I said. The course is topic-oriented, and obviously there will be reference books, but each topic has to be taken care of, and then we will finally integrate the material that we have discussed in the class. While we were discussing the role of marketing, I'd also tried to explain that there are at least three distinct levels of an organization, and the first one was the corporate level, where corporate strategies are undertaken. The middle place was where the SBU strategies take place, which are known as the business strategies. We also call them competitive strategies, because it is at this point that competition takes place. Organizations do not compete per se, but they do compete where the products are. And these SBUs, I told you, are not only determined because of their specific market definitions, but they're also very clear in their own strategy, which is totally independent. And they have a clear-cut class of target market. They have a clear-cut area of strategy, and that is where the products, the SBUs, tend to compete. At the last level, we had discussed marketing as a function of the organization. And those functions were basically activities that are performed in terms of new product development, the price of the product, promotion, as well as where would that product be located in the market in terms of place strategies or logistics. Now, I am going to go a little ahead of this and redefine what corporate strategy is so that we are very clear. I had explained to you, corporations are normally firms with more than one business unit. But we need to be also very clear as to what is the role of marketing in the context of a corporate strategy, because that is what we are discussing during these 2 or 3 sessions. And that is the role of marketing. Now, we take the issue of what is corporate strategy, and we decided in the last session that actually relates to what business to be in. That was the first strategic decision, is to be made at the corporate strategy level. The second decision is what position that has to be secured in the market or in the industry by the SBU, because the point of entry into a business is using an SBU. And finally, how much resources would be required to achieve that goal. Now, if we look at it from the marketing point of view, the first question, we can also explain it from this point of view, कि business sense क्या कहती है? Now, business sense is something that is intuitive, but backed up also by analytical skills. And therefore, when we come to a conclusion कि किस industry में या किस business में हम enter करें, so we have to take this decision, which is more or less what we can say intuitive, analytical, all things are put together. I'll give you an example, and the example is using a question. Like my question could be, does it make sense to enter the retail business or to go into production of a product? The second question could be, from the same area, if we decide that, okay, retail is a better frame, so we can say, should we go into the pharmaceutical retail business, or should we go into the departmental store type of retail business where all kinds of products are available? Now, to be able to give this, one, like I said, some people have intuitive senses and they tend to move in that direction. But most of the time, marketing comes into play even if it's an individual entrepreneur who is taking this decision. उसके ज़हन में कहीं न कहीं marketing के हवाले से कुछ बातें हैं जो होंगी. For example, he would have a little bit of an idea कि लोगों की need क्या है, what kind of products they would require, where should I place my retail outlet, should I go to Johor Town or should I go to the defense? Now, अगर हम यहाँ भी देखें तो क्वेश्चंस वही आ जाते हैं जो मार्केटिंग से रिलेटेड हैं. मार्केटिंग क्या करेगी? मार्केटिंग would definitely try and inform in the sense of the thing कि competitor कौन सा कहाँ बैठा हुआ है. Because obviously, like I said, when you are at the SBU level, you need to decide what will be your competitor and who would be your competitor. If you try and move to, let's say, the defense area or in some high street area, high streets are where normally high fashion products are located. Internationally, that is what we call high streets, jahan very affluent people normally tend to buy. The other areas are like middle class, upper middle class की जो locations होती हैं, वहाँ भी ये रिटेल लगाई जा सकती है, लेकिन फिर वहाँ किस किस्म का कंपटीशन होगा, ये भी मार्केटिंग ही डिटरमिन करती है, क्योंकि मार्केटिंग का जो फंक्शन है बिजनेस यूनिट लेवल पे, वो है कि कंपनी को कैसे एडवांटेज पहुंचाया जाए. हाउ शुड अ कंपनी और एन एसबीयू क्रिएट कंपैटिटिव एडवांटेज. सो एक तरह से एसबीयू का लेवल के ऊपर जो डिसीजन हो रहा है कॉर्पोरेट के अंदर, वो इन चीजों को मद्देनजर रख के होता है. तो लेकिन डिसीजंस कॉर्पोरेट स्ट्रैटेजी में यही तीन है जो मैंने कहा. ब्रॉडली इसी पे बात होती है. Which industry to get inside, what or what business to enter, what position to secure in that business in terms of market share, number, first honge, second honge, third honge. And the third is how much funds would be allocated to that function. Now, if we now move into the strategic business unit strategy area, तो वहाँ business strategy या जिसको हमने कहा competitive strategy play में आ जाती है. और मैंने कहा कंपैटिटिव स्ट्रैटेजी का एक फोकस होता है खास, एंड दैट इज कि कंपनी जो है या फर्म जो है या एसबीयू है, वो मार्केट में कंपैटिटिव एडवांटेज कैसे क्रिएट करे. नाउ कंपैटिटिव एडवांटेज देयरफॉर इज अ कोर टॉपिक एरिया दैट वी विल कवर इन डिटेल्स इन द नेक्स्ट 2 or 3 सेशंस, क्योंकि उसके पीछे बहुत से सोर्सेज हैं, रिसोर्सेज क्या चाहिए, ये सारी चीजें हम मार्केटिंग के ही हवाले से और फिर बिजनेस यूनिट की जो स्ट्रैटेजी है उसके हवाले से करेंगे. बिकॉज फाइनली कंपैटिटिव एडवांटेज क्रिएट करना किसी भी मार्केट में, दिस बिकम्स द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ द कंपैटिटिव स्ट्रैटेजी. और इसमें रोल मार्केटिंग क्या प्ले करेगी. नेचुरली चंद चीजें ब्रॉडली हम यहाँ अभी डिस्कस कर लेते हैं, फिर बाद में वी विल एलैबोरेट देम इन द नेक्स्ट फ्यू सेशंस. मिसाल के तौर पे नीड्स का मैंने कहा था, नीड्स कौन सी हैं, कौन से प्रोडक्ट्स उन नीड्स को सेटिस्फाई कर सकते हैं, वांट्स कौन सी हैं, क्या प्राइस हम सेट कर सकते हैं, पोजीशनिंग क्या हम रखेंगे, हमारा टारगेट कौन सा होगा. नाउ ऑल ऑफ दिस, लाइक आई टोल्ड यू, इज ब्रॉडली व्हाट विल बी फोकस्ड ऑन क्रिएटिंग अ वैल्यू फॉर द कस्टमर. मिसाल के तौर पे एक बिजनेस के अंदर या एक मार्केट में बहुत से कंपैटिटर्स हैं, और मैं अगर रिटेल ही का एग्जांपल लूं तो देयर विल बी नंबर ऑफ रिटेल डिपार्टमेंटल स्टोर्स. नाउ वन ऑफ द डिपार्टमेंटल स्टोर्स हैज टू compete against the other and has to attract customers. Now to be able to do that, उस रिटेल आउटलेट को कोई ऐसी वैल्यू देनी पड़ेगी जो कोई दूसरा ना दे रहा. वो किस शेप में होगी, किस तरह से किया जाएगा, वो हम एसटीपी का जो फ्रेम मैंने आपको बताया था, सेगमेंटेशन, टारगेटिंग एंड पोजीशनिंग का जो फ्रेम है, उसमें हम लाएंगे जबकि हम मार्केटिंग की स्ट्रैटेजी क्रिएट करेंगे. लेकिन इस वक्त हमारा जो डिस्कशन है वो है एसबीयू या कंपैटिटिव स्ट्रैटेजी के हवाले से, और हम ये देख रहे हैं कि हाउ डज मार्केटिंग फिट इनटू दैट रोल. कंपैटिटिव स्ट्रैटेजी ऑब्वियसली इज अ कलेक्शन or integration of a number of functional strategies. Take an example, very simple. Agar main aapse kahun कि we have decided what kind of product we need, but what will be the source of the product, kahan se liya jayega, aur phir how would it be delivered. Now this brings in the supply chain or logistics frame into position, aur wahan kitni frequency se aayega, to inventory control systems aa jayenge, price kya hogi based on the cost factors. तो ये सारी चीजें एक कंपैटिटिव स्ट्रैटेजी की सपोर्ट में आती हैं, और कंपैटिटिव स्ट्रैटेजी का एक गोल है, वो है कंपैटिटिव एडवांटेज को क्रिएट करना. तो और मार्केटिंग का मैंने आपको बताया द मेन कॉन्सेप्चुअल क्या नाम है इनपुट from marketing comes in terms of determining various features that will help the company or the SBU to create strategic business, the competitive advantage for the strategic business unit. Last time, we had also tried to explain कि मार्केटिंग सिर्फ एक कंपनी के अंदर ही या कंपनी के लिए ही नहीं है. मार्केटिंग का फंक्शन एक तरह से हमने नोट किया, रिसर्च में बहुत इस पे बात हो चुकी है कि वो एक मुल्क की जिसको हम कहते हैं ना क्वालिटी ऑफ लाइफ, उसको भी एनहांस करता है. देयरफॉर मार्केटिंग नॉट ओनली सर्व्स as part of an organization but also as a whole, as a philosophy, comes into position in terms of providing quality of life, choices to people, and so on and so forth. So, therefore, marketing ना सिर्फ एक functional activity based frame है, but एक philosophical based frame है, जो broadly हम cover करते हैं पूरी एक society को, and so on and so forth. So that was basically what we had been discussing. Today, like I told you, that we have brought into a concept what we will call competitive advantage. तो इस पे हमारी बात जो है वो थोड़ी डिटेल में होगी, लेकिन इसके अलावा we will normally obviously like to see कि competitive advantage create कैसे होता है. So therefore our goal will also be to find what are the sources for competitive advantage, or what kind of sources are required, or where are those sources located in an organization in terms of marketing, which we can bring into position to create competitive advantage for the SBU or for the firm or for the organization, whatever you like to call it, but that is where our main focus would be. Where and what is competitive advantage is a little difficult to grasp, because कई जगहों के ऊपर हमें ये पता नहीं चलता कि हमारा competitive advantage है क्या. Let me give you an example in this frame, and this example should guide you that most of the times firms do not even know themselves where their competitive advantages are located. Not only that, we also have to see कि competitive advantage जो create होगा market में वो customer के लिए क्या करेगा. Now, obviously, competitive advantage का मतलब in very simple terminology would be an advantage that a firm gives to the customer in comparison with his or with their competitors. So basically what we are saying is competitive advantage is the advantage that is being created for the customer in comparison with the competitor. Now, how do we know whether we have been able to achieve that advantage? Or agar wo achieve hua, so what will be the sign that we will have to know that advantage has been created? Logic कहता है कि अगर कस्टमर को वो वैल्यू मिल जाए जो वो चाहता है और दूसरी कंपनी वो ना दे रही हो, तो लॉजिक में the customer will be more bound to purchase, to interact with that firm which has created this competitive advantage. So एक तो ये चीज आ गई कि competitive advantage जो है वो advantage create हो रहा है, value create हो रही है customer के हवाले से, which is not being provided by a competitor. So competitive advantage is basically a comparative frame or a relative frame. एक कंपनी के पास क्या advantage है and what will be the advantage that will be provided by another company. लेकिन ये this is not just sufficient to be able to understand the logic. Logic ये है कि competitive advantage अगर एक और कंपनी उसी चीज को कॉपी करे, let's say if we will just to take a very simple example कि strategy is something that creates competitive advantage, और अगर मैं कहूं कि marketing strategy tends to create competitive advantage, so if the other company can follow the strategy exactly in terms of product, price, place and promotion, तो advantage खत्म हो जाएगा because दोनों कंपनियां तकरीबन एक ही चीज कर रही होंगी. अब अगर हमें ये भी समझ आ गई कि we cannot create competitive advantage by doing what other companies are doing. So we will have to be unique. Now this uniqueness is a frame which is actually related to marketing in terms of its innovativeness. And innovativeness ke andar we have to become quite clear कि innovative में जब हम competitors की बात करते हैं या competition की बात करते हैं तो वहाँ अगर if we think in terms of being number one, let's take an example. If the objective is set as we should be number one in the industry or business, तो होगा क्या? We will try and beat the competitor by being number one, so we will obviously be trying to destroy that competitor. Now that is one frame. In literature, इसको हम red ocean strategy भी बोलते हैं. Obviously, those words are just words that have been created by consultants, but basically, logic ये है कि if you start competing exactly on the same frames with the competitor, एक survive करेगा. और क्या नाम है literature में marketing के particularly literature में इस पे बात हो चुकी है because ये तकरीबन इकोलॉजिकल फ्रेम में आता है. और इकोलॉजिकल फ्रेम क्या कहता है? वो ये कहता है कि अगर आपके पास एक इकोलॉजी इज बेसिकली एन एनवायरनमेंट, ओके, और मैं इस इकोलॉजिकल फ्रेम को ले जाता हूं इन टर्म्स ऑफ द एनिमल किंगडम. ठीक है, अब अगर हमारे पास एक लेट्स से 100 एकड़ की इलाका है और उसमें हम सिर्फ एंटीलोप्स को छोड़ दें, यानी कि हिरन को छोड़ दें, तो ओवर ए पीरियड ऑफ टाइम चूंकि वो सारी चीजें वही खाई जा रही हैं, द अप्रोच ऑफ फीडिंग इज द सेम बाय ऑल ऑफ देम, तो अल्टीमेटली ओनली द स्ट्रॉन्गेस्ट विल सर्वाइव इन दैट एनवायरनमेंट. बट अगर आप उस एनवायरनमेंट में मुख्तलिफ किस्म के जानवरों को छोड़ें तो देयर विल बी जिसको हम कहते हैं ना इकोलॉजिकल पैरिटी बन जाएगी. एक दूसरे की सपोर्ट में होगा, कोई चीज किसी की सपोर्ट में आएगी. तो एक तरह से कंपटीशन जो है वो सिर्फ डिस्ट्रक्शन की तरफ नहीं जाएगा, बट इट विल हेल्प एवरीथिंग सर्वाइव. सो बिजनेस, गुड बिजनेस वुड मीन दैट वी क्रिएट सम यूनिक पोजीशन which will help us survive, not only survive, attract the required customers who are basically interested in our product, while another company might try to do something different. And these two companies can survive within the same environment, making sure that they have an advantage that is unique to themselves. इसको economic terminology में भी हम देखते हैं so that we can understand the logic. Economics, obviously, we all know, has been called the mother of all social sciences, which includes marketing, because marketing सिर्फ एक ऐसी theory नहीं है which was created on its own grounds. It is basically eclectic in the sense that a number of theories have tried to contribute into it. और अगर आप recall करें, last time I was trying to explain shortly, I had explained कि theory क्या होती है और concept को हम क्या समझते हैं. तो today, as I go over this frame, I will explain a little bit more about what is theory. लेकिन अगर हम economic frame में चले जाएं तो वहाँ भी हमने देखा प्योर कंपटीशन होता है, ओलिगोपोलिस्टिक कंपटीशन होता है, मोनोपोलिस्टिक कंपटीशन होता है, मोनोपोली होती है. और ये सारी चीजें जो मैंने अभी बातें की हैं वो उन्हीं से दे आर लिंक्ड अप. व्हाई? बिकॉज इकोनॉमिक कंडीशंस जो क्रिएट होंगी मार्केट में, उनमें ये जो मैंने आपसे 3-4 मार्केटिंग के और कंपैटिटिव एडवांटेज के हवाले से बात की, ये इनके साथ इनका डायरेक्ट लिंक है. मिसाल के तौर पे प्योर कंपटीशन के अंदर हमें मालूम है दैट देयर इज नो डिफरेंशिएशन, ऑल प्रोडक्ट्स आर द सेम, प्राइसेस आर केप्ट एट द लोएस्ट लेवल, देयरफॉर देयर इज नो इकोनॉमिक रेंट फॉर एनी फर्म. इकोनॉमिक रेंट इज के प्रॉफिट्स बन रहे हों, और प्राइसेस भी गिरते गिरते प्योर कंपटीशन में उस लेवल पे पहुंच जाती हैं वेयर दे आर जस्ट कवरिंग देयर कॉस्ट्स. नाउ ऑन द अदर साइड वी हैव मोनोपोली, एंड आई जस्ट डिस्कस्ड दैट पॉइंट इन मोनोपोली कि मोनोपोली में कंपैटिटिव एडवांटेज की लॉजिक खत्म हो जाती है. मोनोपोली इटसेल्फ इज अ कंपैटिटिव एडवांटेज, कंपटीशन होता कोई नहीं है, सो देयरफॉर मार्केटिंग का रोल उसमें तकरीबन मोर और लेस खत्म हुआ होता है. बट द मोस्ट सिग्निफिकेंट ऑफ द इकोनॉमिक competitive situations is monopolistic competition. Now, monopolistic competition is very interesting कि हर कंपनी अपने तौर पे अपनी मार्केट सेगमेंट के अंदर मोनोपोली क्रिएट करती है, एंड द लॉजिक ऑफ दैट मोनोपोली क्रिएशन इज दिस कंपैटिटिव एडवांटेज. So if a company wants to become monopolistic competitor, it has to create a unique competitive advantage, and all companies in a monopolistic competition के framework में have their own monopoly areas, which is obviously determined through कि इनका competitive advantage क्या है. And competitive advantages are different, created in different forms, जिसमें आपकी internal capabilities, external requirements, ये दोनों आ जाती हैं. How do we link our internal capabilities with the requirements of the market? Or requirements are not just one, there can be a number of requirements. And अगर मैं फिर एक नया concept इसमें introduce कर देता हूँ, which obviously we will be discussing in the next classes, is called the key success factors of the industry. If we can determine the key success factors of the industry, and we can see कि हमारे जो internal resources हमारे पास हैं, उनको अगर मैं किसी भी ये key success factor से link करूं, and my link is stronger than the link that will be created by another competitor, I have created a competitive advantage. So इसकी detailed discussion हम अगली class में करेंगे. But अभी इस वक्त trying to understand the logic of competitive advantage is important for us. So I've already now told you about how the economic competitive framework can be solidly linked with the marketing area and the competitive advantage theory. एक चीज मैंने ये भी कही कि most of the firms do not know what is their competitive advantage या उनका जो competitive advantage का source है वो है क्या. Now in this context I will just give you a example which is practical. Occurred in America. There was a firm which was part of the chemical industry. They used to produce chemicals, and in that industry, या जिस market में वो operate कर रही थी ये company, let's call it company A, तो वहाँ 5-6 और companies भी थी, but those companies were large. This company was medium size, not very large, but were still profitable. Now, logic कहता है कि अगर profit बना रही है, तो they must be giving something that satisfies the customer, और customer उनके पास खरीदने आ रहे हैं. अब एक ऐसी मीटिंग हुई इसके बोर्ड में, तो जो चीफ एग्जीक्यूटिव ऑफिसर थे, he told the production manager, because obviously chemicals are the core issue of production, तो उन्होंने उनको तकरीबन $17 million ऑफर किए कि तुम अपनी क्वालिटी को और इंप्रूव करो. Now, if you watch very carefully, ये जो लॉजिक चीफ एग्जीक्यूटिव ऑफिसर ने दी, उनके ख्याल में उनकी क्वालिटी वाज द एडवांटेज दैट हैड क्रिएटेड और दैट हैड बीन क्रिएटेड इन द मार्केट, जिसके बेस के ऊपर कस्टमर उनके पास आ रहे थे. अगेन वी कैन से दैट कि उनके ख्याल में जो की सक्सेस फैक्टर था वो केमिकल की क्वालिटी पे बेस करता था. सो चूंकि वो उनकी बिक्री हो रही थी, दे वर सेलिंग देयर प्रोडक्ट विदाउट एनी प्रॉब्लम्स, मेकिंग sufficient profits, so they thought that if we could improve our qualities, and they allocated $17 million. Time guzara, so they decided कि okay, find out कि जो पहले हमारी quality थी और आज की quality है, इसमें कितनी improvement आई है in terms of how the customer views it. So they had to take a survey. They went to the market. They talked to their customers, और उनमें उन्होंने जो evaluation का फॉर्म बनाया, उसमें ये लिखा कि ये जो 5-6 कंपनीज हैं, इसमें बेहतरीन क्वालिटी की कंपनी कौन सी है जो केमिकल्स दे रही है, क्वालिटी केमिकल्स. एंड सो देयर वाज अ रैंकिंग रिक्वायरमेंट. तो जो जितने भी कस्टमर्स थे, उन्होंने जब रैंकिंग कर दी उन 6-7 कंपनियों की, तो दिस कंपनी A went into shock, and the shock was that they were being ranked the last in terms of quality, and therefore there was a total confusion in the company because they had just spent 17 million to improve their quality, and यहाँ market जवाब दे रही है कि your quality is not of that level. So the question came about, तो फिर हमारी चीजें बिकती क्यों हैं if we are not that good quality? Now, strangely, when they went into this investigation, तो उनको ये पता चला कि जो बड़ी कंपनीज थी, like I told you, कि business strategies के अंदर कई functional strategies have to pull in. One of them is also inventory management framework. So what they found out in the market was that all the large competitors had no sale less than 10 tons. That means उनकी जो minimum order quantity था, that used to be 10 metric ton. Whereas this company was ready to sell 2 tons, 5 tons, 7 tons. So they were not really concerned about the size of the quantity or the order, but they were interested in making sales. When they discovered this point that the other companies were actually, because of their size and because of their own economies of scale requirement, तो वो 10 metric ton से नीचे बेचते ही नहीं थे. और वो customers जिनको अपनी requirements थी that they did not want to invest in large inventories, तो वो customers were the ones which were actually coming to this company, and therefore the logic was not quality. Quality थी, एक level पे थी, but not the best. But what they were buying was for the purposes of keeping their inventory costs down. So these customers were more concerned, और उनकी जो need या want थी वो थी कि हमारी जो inventory costs हैं वो low रहे, because they were not large operators, so obviously they wanted, and this company was providing that advantage. Now, इससे क्या नाम है, what should we draw as our conclusion? The conclusion is that number one, the company did not understand where did their competitive advantage lie. They were selling, so that was good enough. Number two, if we know what the source of competitive advantage is, then we should be investing and securing that area more strongly than wasting our effort and time in areas जहां हम वो success achieve नहीं कर सकते. Now, like I was saying, that we needed to know that we should not be trying to compete on a point where we will not achieve the success or the level that is already existing with another competitor. To make this clear, I'll use the chart to show you the 3 points of competitive parity and so on and so forth. So we understand कि हम किसकी बात कर रहे हैं, और फिर मैं I'll give you another example to facilitate your understanding of how this will move. Okay? Now, we should understand that there are 3 points in the business unit strategy. One is to try and achieve competitive advantage. So the first factor is competitive advantage, which I just explained to you in terms of this company. Okay? That's the first part of it. Now, the second one is where you have parity. That means both the companies are equal on that ground. So we can say competitive parity. And the third factor we should be able to understand, and this is where marketing analysis moves into position. The third is where we have competitive disadvantage. Okay? Now, these 3 points are critical. Every company cannot have competitive advantage in every frame. It cannot. So what does it mean to us? What we are saying is, try to locate your competitive advantage in that area where you can sustain it over a point of time. And where you have a disadvantage, you must try and improve the company's working within that area so that at least competitive parity is achieved. और ये जो मैंने एग्जांपल आपको दी, ये मोर और लेस अगर आप गौर से देखें तो ये तकरीबन यही चीज बात हो रही थी. हो क्या रहा था कि they were at a disadvantage, but by investing they tried to achieve parity at the lower level. जो lowest level of requirement है किसी भी chemical industry के अंदर quality की, they were able to achieve that. But they had an advantage in the area where they could make what do you call a competitive advantage could be sustained, making sure that their inventory management systems, their logistics, all these things would contribute into this particular competitive advantage framework. So having brought this point to your notice, that we are constantly looking at points where we can sustain competitive advantage rather than just trying to figure out wherever it is. तो अगली क्लासों में we will be looking at the sources of competitive advantage. ठीक है? उसके अलावा then we will also try and locate कि key success factors क्या होते हैं, क्योंकि finally हमने अपनी जो internal resources हैं उनको link करना होता है with the competitive और key factors, और वहाँ अगर हमारे links ठीक हो जाएं तो we normally will tend to get the advantage that we are looking at. Okay, so having discussed now a very broadly कि competitive advantage है क्या, we would like to take a step back and again think about the concept or the word theory. क्योंकि जब हम बात करेंगे तो we will be looking at a phenomena, और ये जो example मैंने दी है ये यही था. इस company में they were succeeding. So the phenomena was that they were making profits. Now, to understand this phenomena, we could give a number of rationales and reasons. वो जो phenomena को explain करने वाली चीजें होती हैं, normally we call them theories. Okay? So, इस particular company के case में दो तीन theories involve हो चुकी थी. Number one, there was this theory of quality management, जिसको हम total quality management भी बोलते हैं. तो वो explain कर सकती थी इस logic को कि ये company, why was it successful, why was it performing well. On the other side, there could be a marketing consumer behavior theory. For example, it is consumer behavior which decided that we do not want to buy large size of quantities, so we wanted to keep our quantities small, and in that frame this company was actually providing the consumer behavior को जो support provide कर रही थी. That was the basic theory therefore moving in. Now, to explain the same phenomena, like I'm saying, theories are used. Theories are abundant in terms of marketing. इससे पहले मैंने economically आपसे बात की when I was talking about the competitive environment and the way competition can take place, whether we should be number one or should we be unique, should we have an innovative kind of framework, or should we try and beat the competitor on every step. Price पे भी beat करो उसको, logistic में भी उसको beat करो, whatever you do. So that was basically, इसके पीछे जो theories थी वो economic competition की theories थी. So अगर मैं अब इन चीजों को conclude करूं तो मैं ये कह सकता हूं कि therefore every phenomena that takes place in market or every phenomena that takes place in the business can be explained by a number of theoretical frames. हमारी कोशिश ये है कि we will try and understand and use the logic of marketing and business systems to be able to create this logic of competitive advantage. So there will be a number of theories we will be discussing. I had mentioned market orientation. So we will try and see how a company can become market oriented and how does a learning organization come out of this marketing orientation. We will also look at the resource-based theory, which tries to explain why one company is unique and better or performs better than another company. We will come into the marketing strategy frame also, because we also can explain competitive advantage through the theory of strategies. Now, strategies में business strategy के हवाले से Michael Porter is the one who has given us some generic strategies that we apply, but we will discuss them in detail as we go along. तो इस वक्त हमारा जो focus रहा है अब तक वो है marketing का role in the organization as a whole, और here is where I will now be very specific. I've given you a good example of how marketing is involved in the business strategy or the competitive strategy area, and how marketing is involved in the functional area by the 4 Ps concept, and also at the corporate level where the company has to decide where would they fit in? So basic frame mein, when we were discussing this, I was explaining the way marketing has played roles. So we've also come into the position of looking at it from the environmental point of view, or wahan we have already stated very categorically that it does help the society as such, improving its living standards and quality of life. But इकोनॉमिक फ्रेम के अंदर जो बेसिक काम मार्केटिंग करती है, बेसिक जो काम करती है वो है ट्रांजैक्शन. इट क्रिएट्स अ ट्रांजैक्शन बिटवीन द फर्म एंड द कस्टमर. सो अगर हम उसको बेसिक लेवल पे ले जाएं तो ये जो 4 P's का मामला है, जिसमें वी हैव सेड दैट फंक्शनल स्ट्रेटजीज एंड एक्टिविटीज कम इनटू प्ले, दे आर बेसिकली अ ट्रांजैक्शनल फ्रेम. वहाँ प्रोडक्ट दिया जाएगा, उसकी प्राइस होगी, कस्टमर विल बाय इट, the money will change hands, and so on and so forth. So that's the lowest level. But फिर मैंने बात की philosophical level पे, which goes very broad, and we try and understand how these significant changes can take place not only in the corporate framework but also in the societal framework. Now ये तीनों चीजों को cover करने के लिए I'll draw a diagram so that we can see how marketing fits in to these 3 basic logics. और इस बेस के ऊपर आके हम ये कह सकते हैं कि marketing actually performs a boundary spanning role. Okay? The word is very specific. Try and understand the word. Boundary spanning. That means boundary के इस तरफ भी वो ऑपरेट करती है और बाउंड्री के उस तरफ. और हम बाउंड्री की जो लाइन है वो हम डिटरमिन कर लें कि कहीं भी हो सकती है. मिसाल के तौर पे where we said it is, अगर हम सिर्फ उसको ट्रांजैक्शनल फ्रेम में देखें तो कंपनी का प्रोडक्ट या कंपनी और कंपनी का कस्टमर, इनके बीच में जो लाइन है, दैट इज वेयर मार्केटिंग कम्स इनटू पोजीशन. सो इट स्पैन्स द बाउंड्री बिटवीन द फर्म एंड द बिजनेस एनवायरनमेंट या कस्टमर या सेगमेंट एनवायरनमेंट. ओके, बट इफ वी गो टू द बिजनेस स्ट्रैटेजी और बिजनेस स्ट्रैटेजी लेवल, तो वहाँ we see that it is actually a role that the marketing plays in spanning across functions. So marketing का दूसरा जो spanning role है वो है across the functions. So because it brings information, what kind of product has to be developed from the market, it gets this information, passes it on to the production department. किस lot में बनाना है, inventories क्या होंगी, प्राइस क्या रखी जाएगी. All these are boundary spanning roles between the various departments or functions of the company. So it not only performs the transactional role between the organization and the market, but it also has a boundary spanning role which it contributes towards the firm. And all this then targets onto the way corporates operate, and marketing unme अपनी contribution डालती है. And my focus is more on this issue because, like I told you in the beginning, marketing has gone through a number of cycles. At a point of time, marketing was considered to be very significant, then it lost its significance, then it has been able to recapture it. So we should understand that if we do not, as marketers, contribute to these areas very specifically, we will be losing these activities to some other functional areas. A simple point that I would like to illustrate here is that previously logistic जो था वो marketing का काम था, distribution के हवाले से. But because we became so focused, and this is my personal opinion, we became so focused on advertising and promotion and place करना कहाँ है, दुकान कौन सी होगी, किस जगह पे हम retail में लेकर जाएंगे. So we lost sight that there was a very significant work that we should have been doing, is how to deliver the product into the market. हालांकि marketing में जो 4 P's हैं उसमें placement is supposed to be very critical because it's a long-term association between the firm and the distribution channel. अब वहाँ तक distribute करने का जो मामला था वो सारा marketing का काम था, but somehow the other it is shifted towards the supply chain. Now supply chain side जो है, they have assumed the role of not even bringing the raw material into position, but also taking the product into the market. So they have developed models and methods by which they are contributing very significantly to the frame that we as marketers should have done. Now, having said that, let me draw what I told you would be the kind of boundary spanning role that the marketing performs in the organization, and we will look at it on the chart and get a good idea about it. Now, let's assume that this is the corporate function, so I can call this the corporate level. Okay? Now, we also talked about a business unit or competitive strategy area, so I can create another circle which I will call the business unit area. Finally, we talked about the functionality of the company where we have functions. So, and if you look at it, this broad area is where the marketing is concentrating. It is contributing into corporate strategy area, it is contributing into the business strategy area, and itself as a function, it is performing these three roles. So marketing as a function has been able to contribute into the three areas, and you can see that there is this functionality. And अगर मैं इसी के साथ यहाँ market को draw करूँ, तो the third level of spanning role comes into position, that is between the firm and the market. Here we have firm in the corporation and marketing role in the business unit strategy. Now we should be, I think, more clear as to how the marketing functions within a corporate setup or in a company, and उसके जो functionalities हैं वो क्या हैं. Because we will be finishing this lecture today and we will be tying up the whole discussion so far as role of marketing in a firm is concerned, and then from next time onwards, from next period onwards, we will be going into the area of competitive advantage. I've discussed these points and I've tried to make you understand कि किस जगह पे कौन सी चीज रिक्वायर्ड होगी. जो चीज हमें भूलनी नहीं चाहिए वो ये है कि कंपैटिटिव एडवांटेज जो है वो बिजनेस यूनिट स्ट्रैटेजी पे क्रिएट होता है, कॉर्पोरेट लेवल पे नहीं होगा. नंबर 2, जो कंपैटिटिव एडवांटेज क्रिएट होना है उसमें फंक्शनल स्ट्रैटेजीज जितनी भी हैं वो उसकी सपोर्ट में आएंगी. अगर नहीं आएंगी, वी विल नॉट हैव सस्टेनेबल कंपैटिटिव एडवांटेज. अ स्मॉल एग्जांपल टू इलस्ट्रेट दिस इज कि अगर एक कंपनी अपनी प्राइस गिरा देती है मार्केट में, तो फॉर अ शॉर्ट पीरियड ऑफ टाइम व्हिच वी सी नॉर्मली इन रिटेल बिजनेस के सेल लग गई. व्हेन द मिनट यू अनाउंस द सेल, people tend to get attracted to that point. So there is some kind of a competitive advantage that has been created over a short period. Because immediately क्या होगा, दूसरे जो उन्हीं के competitors हैं वो भी सेल लगा दे. Now अगर वो ये करते हैं तो what will happen is that we will find that more or less everybody is gone into sale, and therefore the market में जो एक short period of time में एक competitive advantage create हुआ था, और वो हुआ किस point पे था, वो प्राइस के बेस पे हुआ था, it vanished. So the competitive advantage will go. प्रॉब्लम बिजनेस का ये है कि वो बिजनेस स्ट्रैटेजी डेवलपमेंट में कॉन्स्टेंटली ये कोशिश करेगी कि उसमें competitive advantage क्रिएट हो. Now यहाँ जब बात हो गई तो वो वर्ड रह गए हमारे पास, स्ट्रैटेजिक मार्केटिंग मैनेजमेंट. अब इसमें दो चीज़ों को मैंने बहुत क्या नाम है कॉम्प्रिहेंसिवली डिस्कस कर लिया, जिसमें जो मार्केटिंग का हिस्सा है दैट वाज द कोर. नाउ देयर आर 2 पॉइंट्स लेफ्ट, एंड विद दिस आई थिंक वी विल बी एबल टू फिनिश आवर लेक्चर टुडे. एक है स्ट्रैटेजिक और दूसरा है मैनेजमेंट. वी ऑलरेडी नो फ्रॉम आवर बेसिक कोर्सेज कि मैनेजमेंट के जो फंक्शंस या एक्टिविटीज होती हैं वो है प्लानिंग, ऑर्गेनाइजिंग, implementing and controlling. So if we look at from the management point of view, तो marketing को जब हम इससे link करते हैं तो we are talking about exactly the same thing. How marketing will be planned, how things will be organized, how they will be implemented in the market in terms of marketing strategy, and how the controls will take place and whatever will happen. अब जो important चीज रह गई है वो है strategic. Strategic itself is not strategy. This has to be very clear. There is a very big difference between a strategy and strategic. And in the next class, while I'm discussing this concept of strategic today, I'll take on the concept of strategy itself. Because strategy kya hoti hai? So now, for now, what we are saying is strategic has to have these three major components. Again, just like in the corporate area, there were supposed to be three components. Yahan bhi teen hai. Number one, strategic ke andar anything which will have long-term implications for the firm will be called strategic. Okay, so that is number one. Number two, कि जो इन्वेस्टमेंट इसमें होगी इस इशू के ऊपर या इस प्रॉब्लम में या जिस चीज पे भी होगी वो सब्सटैंशियल होगी, यानी कि जैसे मैं कहूं कि जो प्राइस गिराना है दैट इज नॉट अ स्ट्रैटेजिक डिसीजन बिकॉज इट्स अ टैक्टिकल डिसीजन कि उसमें कोई बड़ा इन्वेस्टमेंट नहीं आया. नंबर थ्री, कि ये जो इन्वेस्टमेंट है, ठीक है, इसको रिवर्स करना बड़ा मुश्किल होता स्ट्रैटेजिक एरिया में. तो स्ट्रैटेजिक एरिया की तीन खासियतें हैं. नंबर वन, हैज लॉन्ग टर्म implications, require large investments, and the investments are not easy to reverse. Example, again, if we take a strategic decision to locate a plant in some area, अब वो प्लांट की बिल्डिंग बनेगी, ये सारा कुछ होगा, वो इन्वेस्टमेंट जब हो गई, दैट गॉन इज व्हाट वी कॉल संक कॉस्ट. अब उसको रिकवर करना हमारे लिए बहुत मुश्किल है, तो वो डिसीजन जो है स्ट्रैटेजिक होगा. इसी तरह से मार्केटिंग के अंदर जब आप डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन चैनल में जाते हैं तो हर चैनल का मेंबर जो है उसमें अपने आप को प्लेस करने के लिए देयर इज अ कॉस्ट. नाउ दैट कॉस्ट इज स्ट्रैटेजिक बिकॉज समटाइम्स in very big, large retail systems, you have to pay a fee to be even registered in that area. अब वो investment जो आपने की वो strategic हो गई because it becomes very difficult to reverse it. Now, अगर मैं ये सारी बातें आपसे कर दी so that you are very clear कि strategic क्या होता है, marketing समझ गए, we have tried to explain the concept of management. So the strategic marketing management concept should now have become very clear, and that was what was the way we were going to start and go beyond in our topic areas. So जहां हम competitive advantage की बात करेंगे, वहां हम sources of competitive advantage की बात भी करेंगे और फिर देखेंगे कि marketing का role इन सारी चीजों में क्या है. Okay. With this, I come to the conclusion of this, and in the next class, I will pick up the topic of competitive advantage. Thank you, and Allah Hafiz.